In the dimly lit halls of the Louvre, as Paris slumbered on the eve of August 21st, 1911, a plot was unfolding that would send shockwaves through the art world. The Mona Lisa, Leonardo da Vinci's unparalleled masterpiece, was about to vanish from its revered place on the museum walls. A theft so audacious, so brazen, that it almost seemed impossible. Who would dare to steal the most famous painting in the world? You're listening to Casual History. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Casual History. I am your co-host, Jeffrey, with my brother in crime today. Get it? Jacob.
Yes. Dude, I'm so excited for this. And the music that you brought to the table is A+, dude. A+.
Backstory, Ocean's 13? I think it's 13. I don't think it was 12.
Yeah, I think it is 13.
Don't give me shit if I'm wrong.
Okay.
But it's the fox. You know,
yes,
the ending
the fox.
scene? Yeah. When he explains how he stole the egg that they were competing for with George Clooney. Spoiler alert.
And that's just today's vibes.
Yeah. It's always been in my brain as like, if I want to hype music, if I want to feel cool, if I want to walk down and feel like I'm the main character in my story, I'm going to put this song on and
I love it.
Immaculate vibes.
Yeah, immaculate, man. No, seriously, like I've always wondered about that too. I have no idea what would be my like walk-in music, but I always thought that would be really fun to figure out.
Walk-in? Oh, like to a fight?
Oh yeah, like it's mainly like a wrestler's thing, right? Where people like
in
those wrestling and boxing, right? Yeah, you have a walkout song that you're
and
just
baseball
like walking
does
into
it
a
too,
room like
actually.
a badass. Okay, yeah. So I don't know what mine would be, but that one would be yours, is what you're saying?
I think so. Yeah, that
Dope.
Specific piece of the song too, which is they do it in the front, the hook, and then they come back to it at the end.
Yeah,
I don't want to sing
good.
it, but you know what I'm.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
Recap on the last few episodes. They've been going great response-wise.
Seriously, thank you guys.
Wow, we're just full of thanks, aren't we? Because we did the same thing last episode, so we're not going to get too heavy on the thank yous and
we are
mushy.
Straight to business.
We're here for the history,
That's
and
right.
we're here with another story. But before we do that, I'm going to self-promo for 2 seconds.
All
Casual X History on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, and YouTube. We're putting full-length episodes on YouTube because why not?
Yeah. Just in case you guys want to listen there, that would help us out a bunch. Seriously, thank you guys so much for all the comments. I've been loving seeing you guys enjoying the new episodes and just really just like interacting with us on socials. I've been having a ton of fun with you guys.
I think the recurring segments have been the response, like in response to the podcast, the most kind of people bantering in the polls and stuff on Spotify, at least. That seems to be the winner. So that we're gonna do another recurring segment because it's recurring.
You're on one today, Jeff. You're on one.
We're calling it Leo, right? Or
Leo is our AI co-host.
Game?
Yes.
No, it's
our game show host.
Yeah, we're defining this as we go, but I think that's a good way to phrase it. It turns into a game show, and instead of Bob, I can't believe I just blanked.
Bob Barker.
Yes, exactly. Instead of Bob Barker, we got Leo, which is just a way that we can get questions and answers to ourselves without us knowing the answers. And so we use AI. Sorry guys, I know we've
hopped the bandwagon.
Yeah,
it's
but
it's
only
actually
for
pretty
that.
great.
Only for
this.
Only for history, for the sake of history. But yeah, so today we're gonna jump into the story of an art theft around one of the, if not debatably, the most famous piece of art ever. And we're going to be discussing, the theft and what happened, and did he get away with it? Is the one in the Louvre currently fake?
Ooh, I've actually heard a lot of rumors that there's a lot of like fake stuff in museums right now, which is kind of crazy.
You'd make sense. Would you want all the kids snotty hands and
no?
runny
I mean,
nose?
I think almost not on purpose. I think
Oh.
there are fakes, like really, really good fakes in certain museums because of heists that happened in the past. I actually did. It kind of brought this right back to me when I heard your title, because
Mhm.
I remember I think I did a small, like short 5-minute casual history a year ago or so on one of these heists. I have no idea if it's this one, but I've also been watching some documentaries about some art heists, some really big ones too.
Yeah.
So I'm in the mode, Jeff. So let's
we
get into
we
it.
did
I'm
touch
excited.
on this a few years ago, or a year and a half ago, on a art theft that happened in the United States.
That might
The-
be it.
with the mob that was involved. You remember that?
Yes.
I can't remember the title of it. But if you search through it and someone else is interested
But it's a
in
good episode.
going back
Jeff.
and
It's a good
listening to it,
episode.
you can. Yeah, so that's what we're gonna jump into today, and let's just go ahead and get to it. Yeah. All right, we're gonna start off with a bit of some groundwork being laid, maybe a bit of poetic groundwork,
Okay.
you might call it. But I'm gonna set the scene for those who don't know what the Mona Lisa is.
Oh yeah, please.
Very brief. It's gonna be brief, okay?
The what? The Mona what?
We're gonna start there, and then we'll get into the heist. Okay.
Okay, let's do it.
So the time was between estimated 1504 and 1506. The scene is Leonardo da Vinci's studio. Okay, so put yourself there. Close your eyes.
That's exactly who we named our game show host after. So
Yes,
this is great.
Leonardo. He's just back from the dead and
Or the
hosting
Ninja
our
Turtle.
game show.
Either.
Yeah. So, in a dimly lit workshop in Renaissance Florence, we find Leonardo da Vinci. As we've talked about, I think briefly in other episodes, he's the epitome of the Renaissance man. He's who I aspire to be, honestly.
Me too, man. Me too.
And this studio is not just a place of art, it's a laboratory of ideas, sketches, inventions, and anatomical studies, and endless curiosity, something I've always admired about Leonardo. I think objectively is just his relentless and way of interpreting and trying to figure out the truth of things and curiosity.
Yeah.
And so it begins with, essentially, he starts a portrait of Lisa
Some
Gherard-
weird woman somewhere.
Gherardini. That's who I'm talking about. Lisa Gherardini.
Okay.
And there's something that captivates him about this specific woman. I think he's in love. Who is she?
It's also a love story? Man, you're spoiling us today, Jeff.
I know. We're getting off track too early.
We are. This is already setting up a precedent for the whole podcast right now.
Well, Lisa is the wife of a Florentine merchant. Scandalous.
Wow.
But what secrets hide behind her calm demeanor and gentle smile? Leonardo becomes obsessed with her image, and the painting evolves into more than a mere portrait. Her eyes are rendered with unprecedented depth, her smile with a mysterious allure, and Leonardo is not just painting her likeness at this point, he's exploring the very essence of beauty.
Wow.
And that's a very high sensationalized way to put that, but
Her husband never stood a chance.
I don't think so. I think when he says, "Let me paint you," like one of my French girls, you say yes, Jacob.
You just say yes, and then you become the iconic picture
Wait a
that
minute.
everybody knows.
This connection, Leo in Titanic. Is there a connection to that?
What do you
Is there
mean? Their
let me
names?
paint you? Never mind.
What-
Forgive
what-
me. Nothing. So we know how this story ends. Okay, the Mona Lisa becomes a masterpiece,
Of
not
course.
only of artistic technique but psychological insight. Leonardo employs his knowledge of optics, anatomy, and light to imbue the painting with a life of its own. Her smile can almost seem to change depending on the viewpoint. Her eyes seem to follow the viewer, and she becomes a riddle in the mind of the viewer, an enigma, a reflection of the human soul. So that's the poetic.
Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that?
What was that?
Don't worry about it.
So, guys, just to another note, we're working on implementing a soundboard, and Jacob's got control.
Implementing.
So
We are here. We have arrived at the soundboard, Jeffrey.
right.
Don't even play.
Well, I just want the listener to be ready that
Yeah.
we will be getting to the history, and that is what we're here for,
Absolutely.
with a little bit of added sound bites.
yes.
And so that, for those who don't know, I know everyone probably does know, but that's the general overview of how the Mona Lisa came to be and what it currently is. And so by the time we get to the night before the theft, because we're jumping scenes here, okay? So now
Okay.
you're going to put yourself in 1911 on August 20th, okay?
Wow. Okay.
In the 20th
There.
century, at this point, the Mona Lisa, the enigmatic painting, now resides in the Louvre, an enduring symbol of French culture, attracting visitors from all over the world. Even at this point, its fame has transcended borders and it's become an icon of human achievement in the arts. Enter scene Vincenzo Peruggia. I butchered the name. We know this, guys. We do not do names very
we know
well
this.
here. This is a shtick of ours that we're not trying to keep. It just keeps happening.
Yeah, it's
And
not on
so-
purpose.
Vincenzo is a simple Italian handyman, but he's got grand ambitions, as do we all. He works within the very walls that house the masterpiece, and he begins to start dreaming and fantasizing of stealing it. What drives him, you ask, Jacob? Which you didn't, but I know you did.
Yeah, please.
It's a misguided sense of nationalism, believing
Oh.
the painting should return to Italy.
Okay.
He believes it shouldn't be here in the Louvre. It shouldn't be for the French people mainly, even though people come from all over, but it's in, France.
So good
Um,
intentions. Good intentions is what I'm
Is
hearing.
it greed?
Right.
Is that greed thinking of the fortune he could gain, or is it something deeper?
Maybe.
A
Maybe
desire to
both.
become part of the painting's storied, history? I think it kind of works out for him either way,
Yeah. Yeah. I
'Cause we're
think it's a
talking about
win-win.
him.
I don't think you
So-
can lose.
No, I don't think you can lose.
Besides, if you end up in prison. But other than that, you're good.
Yep. And so as Peruggia's plan takes shape, we explore the atmosphere of the time, okay? It's a
Okay.
world in transition in 1911, a time of industrialization, nationalism, and changing values. The art world itself is undergoing transformation with new movements like Cubism that challenges traditional forms. And amid this turbulence, the idea to steal the most famous painting in the world doesn't seem so far-fetched in the line of headlines. And I know this kind of touches on even the last podcast we did, and even in the emu war, most crazy stories I think I'm beginning to find happen when other crazy things are happening.
Yeah.
And they're either off the back of something crazy happening or it's in the mix. And I guess it's debatable to know whether there's ever not something wild happening in history once you look back 20 years or 30 years from that point in time. But that's when this is taking place. And so
Okay.
we're going to skip to the night before the theft.
Right. Getting into it.
Yeah, we're getting into it. So Peruggia prepares. He studies the layout of the museum, the routines of the guards, and the perfect hiding spot. And he's not just planning a heist, he's orchestrating a performance because it has to go perfectly with people moving, guests, and when people clear out, security. Can you, again, enter the mind where I'm thinking of the Ocean's 13, trying to dodge all of the laser beams and trying to get
Yeah.
to
I
the
can cue
egg.
up some music if you're feeling the vibe. You just let me know.
I'll let you know because we might be getting there close. I want to do that before we hit the ad break. There's a good little lift
Yeah.
off, and we'll play that when that happens. But he's again orchestrating a performance and a daring act that's going to shock the world. And these are the threads that connect Leonardo's studio to the plot.
Okay.
And again, with the art piece being at the center of this, the ambition, the greed. Is it for money? Is it for nationalism? What is it for? And so what we end up finding out essentially that the plan is a bit of both, as most things are. Desire, greed, and audacity. It was devious. And so as the Mona Lisa reputation had grown, its allure amplified by poets and writers and admirers, to steal it would become an act of incredible bravado and status, which who wouldn't want to be the guy? What? I don't want to say that. Who wouldn't mind being the guy? Raise
Dude,
your hand.
imagine you're what, the 1800s, you're hanging out at a bar.
Yeah.
Some chicks walk up, they're like, "Who are you? What have you done?" And you're like, "Yeah, I stole the Mona Lisa."
Yeah.
I mean, it's a killer line. It's great.
Pretty great line. And you think with this plan, Jake, you're like, man, he must be thinking of so much. This must be a really dramatic plan. He must be scaling the walls. He must be coming in at night, breaking windows, and I don't know, picking locks.
Yeah, like Mission Impossible, like coming down like Spider-Man, you know?
You would be wrong. Again, his plan was simple, yet effective.
How simple.
Have you ever wanted to, let's just preface this. Have you ever wanted to, let's say, like you're at Target or Walmart. Have you ever imagined just being like, I could wait in the bathrooms until it closed.
Oh my gosh.
And then I'd have Walmart to myself.
Too much effort. Too much effort.
You think that's a lot of effort?
Wait, you're saying if I ever sat in line at a Walmart and thought, you know what,
Jacob,
I want to visit the bathrooms at Walmart for 24 hours.
No, I'm saying if you were to, I guess maybe this is just my own ambition. I've thought about it, okay? I've thought, hey, if I wanted to, I never did, obviously, but if I wanted to, how hard would it be to hide from people who are closing up and hide in the bathrooms and wait till everyone left?
Not hard, I guess. This is all hypothetical, by the way, guys. Hypothetical. Never happened, never is going to happen, okay? So just we have to have a disclaimer.
He had this thought well before we did, and Walmart ever existed. His plan essentially was to hide in the museum overnight, emerge disguised as a worker with no one suspecting him at this point. He would take his time, find the right moment between guards shifting and moving, and make off with the painting. It was a 1, 2, 3.
Just carry it out?
Carry it out.
Like in his hands, like
in his
who
hands,
would buy? What security person works there and would buy like imagine one of your coworkers right now at work just like picking up a priceless painting and you're just like, oh, that's just Jim. Yeah, don't worry about Jim.
If you work the museum, I assume maybe there's maintenance that has to be who knows?
Right.
It maybe wouldn't be the weirdest thing to see. Is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
And
you're right.
And so the night arrived. Okay. And the tension was palpable. I can imagine hiding in a broom closet. He waited. His heart was pounding. He was sweating. And the museum's silence was overwhelming. This is just conjecture, by the way. But we're throwing a little poetic spin on it.
We're there right now.
Filled with the echoes of history and art. And as the hours dragged on, Perugia's mind wavered between excitement and fear. And then finally the moment came. The museum was empty. The guards were gone. And he was dressed as a maintenance worker. He walked in calmly to the Mona Lisa, and his every movement deliberate. He approached the painting, and for a moment, he was mesmerized by Lisa's eyes. Who wouldn't be, right? Was she smiling at him? Was she condemning him?
You hitting on a painting right now during this podcast?
He shook off those thoughts, Jake. This is a big moment.
It's been a weird day. I get it. It's fine.
He shook off the moments and proceeded with the plan, which was removing the painting from the wall.
Yeah, taking the priceless painting off the wall.
Okay, no, but there was some finesse in this. Okay,
yes, there has to be. There's no way he could get out and like successfully get out of this museum, like not being caught with a giant painting in his hand. If there wasn't some like nuance, like he knew
there was a protective
he did his
case.
Research.
Okay, there was a protective case that he had to remove, and again, at this point, there's no like motion sensor. There's no like weight. This is not Indiana Jones where he has to replace the gold with the statue at the right time, and
there's not a
none
weight
of that.
plate. Yeah,
you'd think there would be at this point, but there's not. And so all he has to do is remove the protective case, which he does. His mind focused, and then he hid it under his smock.
Wait,
do you know what a smock is?
I know what a smock is. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I had to look
you had to look up what a smock was.
Hey, I just had to look it up. Okay,
it's like whenever you sneak in candy to the movie theaters. Like you're just like in a giant coat. You look like you're 50 pounds heavier, but no one can stop you because it'd be embarrassing. So that's basically what he's doing as he's walking out of this art museum.
This is where I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence falls second. That was been first for a long period of time in my mind until I heard this.
Okay.
And so, excuse me, he takes it off of the protective case, hides it in his smock, and it kind of starts to sink in. And I imagine it would for me as well, which is you have the Mona Lisa underneath your shirt.
Yeah, I mean, if you're caught, dude, like no one's helping you. Yeah, you're done.
No, it's done.
You're done.
And so he then very calmly and purposefully left the room. and the
Wow.
enormity of his act began to sink in. He had just stolen the Mona Lisa, the most famous painting in the world. Would he escape detection? Could he really pull off the heist of the century? Jacob, can you cue me with that music real quick,
Oh,
please?
dude,
We're about to hit
you
the
got
cliffhanger.
it. You know I'm about to hit it right now. Let's go.
So with every step toward the exit, Perugia's anxiety grew. The hallways seemed to stretch endlessly, the doors threatening to reveal hidden observers. He moved cautiously, aware that a single mistake could lead to the capture. And the world was still unaware at this point that a masterpiece was missing. As Perugia left the museum that day, the threads of history were woven anew, setting off a chase that would captivate the world. And now, let's get to our ad break, Jacob.
Ah.
We're back from the ads. If there
That is
were any,
right.
by the way. I know we don't have any in there yet.
Currently,
So currently,
yet.
all of
I'm
it in
manifesting.
expectation. Yes, expectation of perhaps this becomes a fulfilling adventure that can become somewhat lucrative. But that's not what we're in it for, Jake. We're here for the love of the game. Just as
to fulfill
Perugia
our pockets with, no, I'm just kidding,
with the
I'm just
Mona
kidding.
Lisa.
With the Mona Lisa. That's
Yeah.
what we're trying to do here. No, yeah, dude, seriously, we were just rocking to the music. The music continued. For you guys, it stopped. For us, we just kept like, I was
Yeah.
bobbing and weaving on the call.
That is a jam, man. If you
It's
don't
such a
listen to that
jam.
and just feel good,
And
I don't know what's
also
wrong
had
with
a
you.
thought. I also had a quick little thought before we get back into the story. I know you're itching to get going, and so am I.
Mhm.
Was we really need to, in post, you need to be putting some National Treasure quotes within here. I think that'd be perfect. Just sprinkle them in, you
Yeah.
know, just a
Yeah.
little Salt Bay action across the podcast.
Okay. Noted. Producer, which is us, me and you.
Yeah.
Can you make a note of that, please? We're gonna need to
Yeah,
put some.
for sure. Let me
Make a
just
note
write
at
that down in my.
1:12 of the second half of the podcast.
Yep, I'm gonna add a
Um,
little marker right now. Boom.
So, Perugia, where'd we leave off? I forget. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know,
yes.
someone just casually walked out of a building with the Mona Lisa underneath his shirt like a normal person.
Exactly. Smock, Jacob. Get it right.
Smock.
And so we're going to jump into the aftermath and the resolution and what ended up happening to the Mona Lisa, because it's back in the Louvre currently, right?
It gives
Okay.
you some hints, right?
Right?
Like,
Does
what
it?
happened to
Isn't
this
it?
man?
Me posing unnecessary questions is more fun to me because
I
it's
think-
like, yes, obviously it's back in the Louvre.
You're just
funny.
implying more like
Conspiracy.
conspiracy theories,
Yes,
which I'm
yes.
all for. Listen,
Yeah. Let's start some new ones.
let's
okay?
spin up some new ones.
So the aftermath, okay? In the immediate aftermath of the theft, a silence enveloped the Louvre. The Mona Lisa's absence went unnoticed for hours, leaving a void in the museum and metaphorically in the art world. It was a custodian who finally discovered that that there was empty space on the wall. A discovery that obviously sent shockwaves through the whole administration of the Louvre.
Yeah, someone's getting fired.
Panic ensued. The museum closed, and a frenzied search began. So
Hey,
they
Jeffrey,
start
but you know who wasn't panicked? You know who wasn't panicked?
Mona Lisa.
This man.
This
this man.
walking with his smock walking down the French streets
I can see
of
how
Paris.
smug he is right now, just walking down the street.
Yeah,
I could see him in my eye. Okay.
He hops on a carriage ride away with the Mona Lisa under his smock, and
Yeah.
so the news began to spread. Obviously, you don't keep that secret. So the possibility, though, of a theft seemed inconceivable to anyone who worked there. But as the reality set in, a wave of disbelief, anger, humiliation swept around Paris and the entire art world. And so the Mona Lisa, an emblem of beauty, culture, and history, had been stolen. How could it happen? I just told you. But who would dare? I just told you. The questions were endless and the answers elusive, but not for us. Years later,
Oh,
we
man.
know the answers, thankfully, and that's why I'm telling them to you. But there's a lot of interesting stuff here in regards to the investigation, the world's reaction, and then Jacob, Well, spoiler. Do you think he got caught? I think he got caught, but there's a whole thing around that we're going to
Yeah,
jump
he's in
into as
prison
well.
for sure. Prison for his whole life. Go through jail.
So-
Straight to jail.
Straight to jail. So the investigation, right? Everyone finds out it's missing, and the French authorities launch an exhaustive investigation, sparing no expense or effort. The entire Louvre was searched, the staff interrogated, and the public started to be questioned. Detectives scoured Paris looking for clues, turning to artists, dealers, and anyone who might have seen something.
I
This
literally just
investigation-
watched the Pink Panther last night, and so sorry, I just immediately thought of the interrogation scene where they're the good cop and bad cop.
Right. And then also him popping. I imagine them going through the houses and opening the door, just like at the front, the beginning scene where he goes,
Yes,
you're under
just
arrest for
kicking
the
in the
murder of
door."
Madame whatever is something who get, I don't know.
Just look
Suget.
for a man that has a square stomach. Look for him.
Yes.
That's what they're looking for. That's the sketch artist right now. It's just like,
Right. Well, Jacob, no one was left out from the interrogation. So one of the famous figures who was brought to questioning was Pablo Picasso.
oh, really? That's
Yeah.
a cool little fact. I
Um,
didn't know that. That's wild.
So theories abounded, ranging from political conspiracies to audacious criminal gangs. The world watched, captivated by the mystery, the intrigue, and the audacity of the theft. And so months passed with no leads, and the trail eventually went cold. The painting seemed to have vanished forever. And that's when despair set in, as most things do after months without talking or love or communication.
Wow. This
and
got dark.
public-
I swear, everybody listening, I have not had a single drink today. We're just having a great day. So I'm
I'm gonna
loving
plead the
this
fifth
banter.
on that. And the public's
Okay, cool.
fascination turned into mourning. Had the Mona Lisa actually been lost to history? Will it ever resurface again?
I guess
so-
we'll never know.
And obviously, this was not merely a criminal act. It was an event that resonated deeply with people worldwide. The painting's allure transcended borders, even at this point, languages and cultures. Its disappearance was felt as a personal loss, a theft from humanity itself, as one of the great works of humans. Humanity.
Human beings.
Human beings. And so there was starts to be a reflection on the meaning of the theft. And so again, touching on the same themes that we mentioned at the beginning, which were greed, obsession, nationalism, and the power of art itself to cause such a stir and cause such a communication that even us, we're talking about this piece of painting that was painted by one man in his little studio over a mistress. No, I'm not going to call her a mistress, but over a lady that he was obsessed with. It's funny how long lasting a piece of art can be and how detrimental of a loss that it can feel like when something like that is taken from you. Even the human psyche, like having something that you just know about. I think about this way, not to tangent, but I think about this way with popular figures. There was some popular figures that when they died, or like it affected me, even though I had no real connection to them. For instance, not to make this serious, but Kobe Bryant.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
I
Yeah,
I have
same.
no connection to that. I watch
Like
basketball
heart dropped.
vaguely, not a lot, but like vaguely. I know I like NBA somewhat, but like just something that was a part of the subconscious or like my brain that we all knew about, we all accepted was just part of our worlds, and then that being taken away or losing that, I can understand the kind of grief that sets in around this theft. And so it's an interesting thought, at least I thought it was, thinking about it in those terms.
Yeah. I
with its
also
theft.
wonder, like, when these things happen too, do you think this also played a part in that? Like, it was already considered a priceless painting and like one of the best, but
Yeah.
do you think that this actual heist may have like stirred up that even more? Like possibly like just around like a general sentiment was like, this is something that is like a part of our culture.
Oh,
and
you
we
mean like
need back.
attached it deeper to the
Yeah,
to people?
Like attached a
I
deeper
think
meaning
so.
to the Mona Lisa.
Infamy, infamy is not attached to this obviously because all the way, but when something is done even in a negative connotation or context around a piece of art, artists themselves, the 27 Club, people who maybe in their time, I'm doing this maybe more so as people, maybe pieces of art. It'd be interesting to think about that in ways of like, okay, let's say what's the best song to you ever existed?
Oh, don't ask me that. I don't know.
But
Don't put me on the
let's,
spot for that.
let's say, for instance,
Yeah.
let's say people who love Queen, right?
Sure.
Like, let's say, for instance, tomorrow that could physically be destroyed, gone.
All that art, just
all
gone.
of it gone. Would you
Yeah.
feel the loss of it? I think so.
Yeah, I think
You know?
art is one of those things too that is not even not undersold is probably the wrong way to say it, but like that is something that can reverberate through time. When you make a song, when you write do painting.
Write a painting,
sorry.
yes,
Write a
exactly.
painting. Gosh, I'm just stumbling over everything
When
right
you
now.
do the ones and twos and you paint in the
Oh,
borders,
yes.
you know,
That's right.
That's writing a painting.
When you're coloring your coloring books, you know, that's
Yeah.
the stuff that lasts throughout time. Like that stuff, that's how you can become immortal. Like technically, is like if you create a piece of art during your lifetime
story, though,
that
you know?
resonates
the
with other
story
people.
around it, I think, is what you touched on that I really
Yeah.
agree with, is the story. Because even if, let's say, none of these things happened around this piece of art, would it be as famous? Would it be as well known? Probably for the Mona Lisa, but maybe other pieces of art, not so much, right?
Right.
Like, and that's an interesting conversation for another time, maybe, but another tangent that you could probably go down for lots of pieces of art that without this one event happening around it, would it be considered as important or as,
Yeah.
essential?
Because I'm a believer that like events like this do kind of push that, like even if it was already the most famous painting, these kind of events can push it into the more mainstream, like the more talked about, and
Yeah.
therefore even leaving like a deeper legacy with that item. And
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I feel like there probably are some sort of like, even if it's small, some part of that still lasting today now that it's back.
But Jacob, there's one issue with this.
Yeah. What is it?
He made a mistake.
Of course he did. course he did.
Despite the brilliant execution of the theft, which was take it, put it under the shirt, and walk out, Perugia's plan began to unravel when greed overcame him.
Oh,
Living
here
with
we
the
go.
stolen masterpiece, hidden in a trunk in his tiny Paris apartment, the weight of this secret grew unbearable. The painting, worth millions, but tucked away in obscurity, tormented him. He needed to monetize this theft, and that's when he made a fatal mistake. Perugia, overwhelmed by the fame the painting was receiving in its absence, reached out to an art dealer in Florence named, Alfredo Geri. Posing as an Italian patriot wanting to return the masterpiece to Italy, he tried to justify his act. But Geri was suspicious. Geri's knowledge of art combined with the strange circumstances of Perugia's approach set off alarm bells. And sensing something was amiss, Geri contacted the authorities while feigning interest in the deal. And so the classic mousetrap was set. Working
Wow.
closely with the Italian police, Geri lured Perugia to his gallery, promising to buy the painting. And when Perugia arrived with the painting, bad deals, honestly. If I'm just going to say this, if you're planning on selling something that's stolen, you don't
Yeah.
go into the meeting of selling it with the item. You know, always leave it behind with the destruction device that says, "You take me, I destroy it."
I mean, it's the 1800s, man. He walked out like through the front
1911,
door.
Jacob, not 1800s.
Oh,
1911.
1911. You know,
let's-
still the same. Still
Let's
the same.
make sure you learned something.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for making us tick. I appreciate it.
1911.
1911.
And so the police were waiting. He was arrested and the Mona Lisa was recovered. The world was stunned to learn that the thief was not a mastermind criminal, but a simple Italian handyman. His capture was front page news worldwide, and the newspapers dedicating entire sections to the dissecting of his motives, his character, and reliving their dramatic capture, which is the mistake and ultimate demise of Perugia and how he had to return the Mona Lisa to the Louvre.
Wow. That must be a really sad moment to be there holding the Mona Lisa, about to get your money, and then the police walk in.
Yeah.
I can only
Gotta be a
imagine that sad
heart-sinking-
face.
Yeah. And so with great fanfare, obviously there's a whole celebratory thing that echoes when this is announced that it's been returned. The Mona Lisa was returned to the Louvre, and it was a moment of national triumph for France, a cultural celebration for the world, and crowds lined the streets to catch a glimpse of the painting as it made its way back to its rightful place. Again,
That's
touching on
awesome.
the idea of it became more famous after this. And
Right.
so
It was paraded out. It was
Yes.
paraded back to its home.
Yes. And so the painting at that point went on a tour, Jacob.
That's what I'm saying. More famous than a person. I just had a quick little
Probably
picture of
sells
it
out.
just propped up in front of a stadium of just a crowd of cheering people.
Yeah, I mean,
It's tours.
essentially, it was showcased in exhibitions across Italy, even displayed in the Uffizi Gallery in Florence. I butchered that, but where Perugia had attempted to sell it,
Oh
it
wow.
even made its way there for a showcase. And so, before returning ultimately to France, it was a symbol of resilience, an icon that weathered a storm and emerged with a new mystique. And so, a little caveat to this, I just wanted to throw in here was what ended up happening to Perugia, right? And
Yeah.
So he went on trial for this, and the trial was a spectacle. His defense was that he had acted out of patriotism, wanting to return the Mona Lisa to Italy, her homeland.
It's a good
The
line.
court was unmoved. His claims were overshadowed by the audacity of the crime, the deceit, and the violation of the trust.
Wow.
And so he was convicted and sentenced, but surprisingly, his punishment was relatively light. You
What-
want
what
to
was
take a
it?
guess at how long he spent in prison?
15 years.
That would be light to you, I assume, yeah?
I don't know. I'm just taking a
Okay.
random guess. Random stab in the dark.
A little over a year.
That's it?
Yep.
For stealing the most famous painting in the world.
Yes. The public's opinion was divided. And so people thought him was a villain, was he a misguided patriot, a thief, a lover of art? The debate raged on. And so books, plays, and films would continue to explore Perugia and the character in his mind and what he thought about that theft for decades to come. Ultimately leading to this podcast and us
Yeah.
finding out about this story and how it happened.
That's so interesting. I'm like putting myself in the shoes of that courtroom and just being like, I mean, they had to have approached it in the way of just being like, look, no harm, no foul. Like, he didn't sell it. He didn't get any money from it. It's perfectly fine. It's more famous now than it ever was. Like, maybe we should go a little easy on this guy.
I mean, the tour was, I would assume, would be lucrative again for any
Yeah.
exhibition it's in. You're getting a ticket. Like, it did help the status, and I would assume help the museum ultimately
right.
with that period of time. And if one was smart, they did this on purpose, but they didn't. There's no conspiracy around that. But
Yep.
if you want to do something like that, I think that would be pretty smart. But again, I'm always thinking of the cynical. I feel
You
like
are.
I'm catching myself more and more. I am always I'm always more a vocalizer of, well, if you wanted to just make more money, you might as well just steal it ahead of time.
You're like, your plan's good, but this is better.
Exactly.
I've got you.
Even in how he's going to sell it. I'm like, why did I
You're
say
implicating yourself quite a bit on this podcast, Jeffrey. I don't know
that? I
if
have
you
not
know that.
stolen anything in my life, Jacob. You would be hard pressed to find evidence
know.
of that
Oh,
anywhere.
wow. You really emphasize evidence. Okay. Okay.
But that is the story of the theft of the Mona Lisa.
Wow, that's really good, man.
I hope-
I have to imagine his tombstone says the stealer of the Mona Lisa on it
Probably.
somewhere.
I mean, he spent a year in prison. Would you do that for a year in prison?
I don't know, man. I don't know.
What do you love so much that you would spend a year in prison?
Jacob, what
This
do you
is
love?
Hold on, though. Before we get into this
Yeah.
seems like a reoccurring segment talk.
Okay.
Let's
do it.
transition. So if people want to jump into that segment with us, let's transition into the reoccurring segment.
All right, let's do it. All right, Jeffrey. So we're back to our game show element, our reoccurring segment. I've been loving it so far. I don't know about you, but except for the fact that I'm losing every single game that I apparently
You want
come
my-
up with.
You want my
Which is
honest
great.
opinion, Jacob?
Yeah.
I love it too. It's been great to win. It's been great to kick your ass. It's been really nice. I think if I continue winning, it's gonna be great.
Are you
You
are
know?
you finished?
I'm done.
Are you finished
I-
gloating? Because
could
we
we-
have a
could we-
brand new game here.
Producer, could we turn down the background music just a touch? My
Sure,
ears are
God,
just a bit.
such a diva, man. Such a diva. Okay.
It just was
I've turned it
loud.
down for you. Is that better for
that
yours?
works. Yeah, it's a lot
Okay.
better.
So it's actually off right now.
Well,
so
what do we got? What do we got going?
So we are back with our time warp trivia, which is what our first game was that we ever did on this. And so all that just means is Leo, basically our stand-in history game show host, is going to share
AI
three.
Bob Barker. That's
Yeah,
what we're
AI
gonna name
Bob
him.
Barker. I like
Leo
that.
is our AI Bob Barker.
Exactly.
Tongue
Just
twister.
Just imagine Bob Barker with just the words plastered LEO over his face. That's
Yes.
basically what this is. He has shared 3 outlandish stories from history in each round. The catch, only one of those tales is true. So the other 2 are completely made up, Jeffrey. And it's up to us to figure out and put it on our detective hats to see which ones we think are the real story.
And let's
So
preface
are you ready
this
for this?
ahead of time as well. We're going to be putting, so you guys can guess along with us
Yeah.
in the poll. So there's a poll, if you're on Spotify podcast at least, that you can answer. And so as he throws out the stories, you can select. I'm going to do, it can only be one poll. So you're going to see round 1, 2, 3, round 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And you just select which one you think.
You just
is
made that
true.
super confusing. I'm not good at math, Jeff. Okay. So
Just answer the poll, Jacob.
just answer the poll. Yes. Figure out which one you think is the right one. So
That's the easiest way to say it.
yeah. We just turned it into a math equation. So let's just start with round 1. So I have the stories out in front of me. So I'm just going to list them off and just start with story A. So story A is a small town in Switzerland once declared a war on cats, banning them from their city center due to superstitions. So that's the first story.
I believe it.
Yeah, I know it sounds pretty convincing to me too. I don't even know the answers myself. So,
Okay.
Story B. During the 18th century, a French village held a trial against tomatoes, accusing them of causing madness.
Okay.
So another thing, the 1800s were crazy. Of course,
Tomato
I mean,
on trial.
very just a single tomato
That's
on
what I
trial with a
imagine,
mic.
yeah.
Oh man, that'd be amazing. So
Can we get a photo of that?
yes,
our
I'm gonna have to
socials?
create all
You've
of
been
this.
making a lot of fun ones recently, but
Yeah.
let's make a tomato, please.
I'll definitely do that. Okay, so story number 3, or C rather, is in 1726, a British woman named Mary Toft convinced doctors she gave birth to rabbits.
God. Whoa.
Right?
Convinced
These are
the
crazy.
doctor.
Okay, so all right, Jeffrey, do you have any clues? What do you think? We could even kind of work on this together. Like what makes you think
We can't work on this together, Jacob. That ruins
Okay.
the competition.
whatever? You want to
The
be competitive,
thrill.
let's do it.
I do. And I think the listeners want to see us compete.
I
You
think so
know?
too. I think they want to see us at each other's throats.
Okay. I have an answer. I think what we should do
Yeah.
is
On the count of 3.
should we? Because is that too, Good
It
Mythical
might be.
Morning-ish?
You can
Okay.
go ahead.
I'm just gonna answer. I think
Yeah.
number 1 is true.
Okay.
As
So
much
the,
as
the
I
war on
want-
cats.
As much as I want the tomato on trial to be true, I think the war on cats is true.
I have a hunch, Jeffrey. I have a hunch that story number C, the British woman giving birth to rabbits, might be true. I feel like I've heard some sort of variation of this somewhere in my brain. So
Mhm.
that's going to be my first guess. So
After, I'm not just saying this.
Yeah.
I promise. After I said number 1, I did start to, for some reason. There's a little ping
there's a
in my
pull
brain.
towards C.
But watch it be wrong and watch me be right. Let's see. What's the answer?
We'll
What do you
see.
got?
Here, I can pull up the script right now. So, all right. So, round 1, the true story is C. In
Wow.
1726, a British woman named Mary Toft convinced doctors she gave birth to rabbits. This bizarre incident became a sensation, and Toft was eventually exposed as a fraud.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean-
so there you go.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of thought process? I mean, what's the end game there?
I don't know. I don't
Like,
know what the
do
end
you
game is.
gain out of convincing people you birth rabbits?
Well, it became a sensation, Jeffrey. So she got her 15 minutes
also,
of fame.
I don't want to get too explicit, but how do you explain that?
I don't want to get into it.
Okay,
That's-
let's go to the next one.
Let's just leave that one. Let that one go. But all right, so we both got the first one correct. So we're
Wait,
still
no,
neck and neck.
I said
That's fine.
said number 1. I'll take the L. I said number
Okay.
1 as my answer. I think I just wanted to
Good,
preface
Jeffrey,
that I did
good.
think that number 3 was correct after the
Yeah,
fact.
yeah.
So-
you don't get a half point for that. Okay,
I know,
so,
but you got a point. 1-0.
all right. So round 2, we have some more crazy stories here. So story A in round 2 is going to be a U.S. president once got stuck in the White House bathtub and had to be rescued by his staff. That's actually pretty believable. I mean, aren't most presidents
think we can-
like older? You
I
know?
think we can guess who this who this might have been.
Yeah, I immediately have a guess too, so that's kind of funny. I feel like that is already the right one, but I'm gonna listen to the rest just to make sure. Story B. Ancient Romans used a special type of fish as a natural lie detector during legal proceedings.
Do we have any description on how it was used? That would determine my answer on that one.
It's the sea bass, like that you have on the wall that sings to you. It's just saying guilty, not guilty.
We don't have any details on how that fish was used, do we?
No details.
We're just going to have to guess off of that line, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
No type of fish. We don't even know.
Gotcha.
So the third story is in the 19th century, a London man made a living by impersonating a wild man and scaring tourists in Hyde Park. See, that's pretty believable.
That is, because that reminds me of maybe where, Hyde Park, isn't that where the story of the werewolf, isn't there a movie? Hold on.
I don't know, Jeffrey. Don't trip me up.
I can't
Don't trip me up on my own podcast.
I'm not going to Google. I can't Google because that would give me an answer, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so to recap.
Yes.
Number 1 is the
Stuck in the Bath.
Stuck in the Bath president. Number 2 is
ancient Romans using a fish
as a lie detector. 3 is Hyde Park. I mean, the dude, that just seems like everyday New York. Someone.
Yeah, that doesn't sound like an outlandish story at all.
Also, how is he getting paid to do that? I wonder.
I don't know.
I'm gonna go with I'm gonna go with number 1 again.
I'm going with number 1. I think the exact same thing. I don't want to copy you.
Yeah.
Should I deviate on purpose?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. You're just that like confident that A is right, and I believe it too. So, all right, I'll go with C. Why not?
Oh wow, you're taking.
Let's split it up. Okay. Let's do it. All right. Okay. So the true story was A. Jeffrey,
now
you did this.
Psychological warfare.
You did this.
Do we have one more round?
Yeah, we have one more round and also a bonus round if we want to continue. So we have lots more games.
Maybe bonus round if we end up tied.
Yeah, if we end up tied for sure.
Yeah, okay.
So right now
this will be the winner.
All right, so the true story, a U.S. president once got stuck in the White House bathtub, had to be rescued by his staff. This humorous tale is often attributed to President William Howard Taft. So that was the person I was thinking to, known for his large stature.
Okay, that's not who I was thinking of.
That's not? Who were you thinking of?
Nothing. I'm not going to say it. So
nothing?
Let's go. Let's go to the next.
Yeah, you're right. It's probably best to keep moving. Okay, so round 3. So story number A is, during World War II, a military operation used inflatable tanks to deceive the enemy. Story B. An Australian town once elected a goat as mayor, serving 3 full terms. Wild. But actually isn't too crazy now that I'm starting to process that. And story C is, in the 1600s, a Dutch artist painted over 200 portraits of the same chicken, believing it to be a reincarnated friend. Sounds like a lonely man.
I already know which one's right. I'm not going to give you my answer.
Dude. I do. A is right.
A is right.
Yeah. I know. This is the problem with us loving history, is we know these little things already.
We think, but we haven't been that.
You're right.
I think we've been kind of 50-50 on most of them, but this one, we've been more on than we've been off. So,
all right. So are you ready for me to reveal the answer, Jeffrey?
Yeah.
Are we correct?
Yes.
True story was A. So we were correct.
Okay. So we're going in tie ball game.
That's right. Thank God we have a bonus round. Thank God.
With a bonus round. And if we end off on a tie here, we'll just have to settle it next time.
Yeah, we will. We'll just have to continue this on. There's going to be plenty more games to play, so I wouldn't be too worried about that.
We can call it a draw. We can keep it like a boxing record. Win, lose, draw.
No, and Jeffrey.
So far, I'm 2-0.
I'm gonna win.
And 0 draws, and you're 0-2 and
no.
And
I gotta
0,
get on the board. I gotta get on the board. This is my win. I'm gonna take it. Okay.
Let's see. What's the bonus round?
Bonus round. So story A: a medieval king had a royal court of dogs, each with its own title and responsibilities. Now that's a king I can get behind. That's where do I start? Where could I serve, man? So story B is, in 1957, the BBC aired a report showing spaghetti. This is the same one that we had in the previous one. Spaghetti being harvested from the spaghetti trees in Switzerland.
Wow! So we're gonna cut that down because we already know the answer.
Yeah.
Right. Is there a third story?
There is a third story. A famous composer once wrote a symphony that could only be performed underwater.
Okay, so here we go. We got a 50-50 shot, Jacob. I say, since we don't have a third option, we both have to pick a different answer.
Okay.
But
All right.
before we do we have
Heads or tails?
Yeah, do we heads or tails it? Or no, maybe let's discuss. Maybe we're not even on the same wave here.
I think we are. I think we're probably going to be.
What's the first one again?
A medieval king had a royal court of dogs, each with its own title and responsibilities.
Okay, and the third one being?
A famous composer once wrote a symphony that could only be performed underwater.
Okay, I have an answer what I would like to answer.
Me too. And
Okay,
I feel the tension in the room.
I want to do the underwater one.
That was the one I was going to choose too.
Okay.
You know what? Screw it. I'm going with one.
No, you don't have to. Don't, because then you're gonna
No,
come back to me, and you're gonna say,
No, I
"Oh, but
want that. I want that,
okay.
Jeffrey. That's what I'm
'Cause
looking
you're right.
for.
You're looking at the answer
Because
right
when
now.
you're right, I want to be able to say that this was completely farce, and I want to redo the
Yeah.
whole game. So
Watch you be right though, Jake. Watch you be right. If you're looking at the answer, I swear.
I'm not yet.
Okay.
I'm not yet.
What's the answer? Let's go. Let's lock it in.
Jeffrey, do you want to know what the correct answer was?
I do.
It was one neither of us chose because we cut it out.
No, wait. Yeah, that's right. The spaghetti
Yep, because that was the
wombats.
true one from the first
Yeah,
episode.
Okay, wow, we're gonna
Wow.
end this on a draw.
Yeah, we got to get out of here. This is embarrassing.
That's
we gotta,
okay.
Okay. So,
Leo, we're gonna come back for our trip to the Bahamas real soon.
Yeah.
And that Bob Barker, just
he
trying
tricked
to
us
mess
with
us
the
up there.
same one twice.
yeah.
The same one twice. No,
Same twice. That's all right. I think we
That's
got it.
okay.
We're going into the next round even.
yeah, that's
know?
okay, right?
I think that works well.
You could also just kind of gift this win to me if you
no,
felt.
I'm not going to do that. We're gonna do a boxing record 0, 2, and 1. Jacob, we're a draw.
All right, don't worry.
Okay.
I've got a comeback story in me. Don't you worry.
I'm
ready.
excited for the next episode that you're going to bring into the podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening this far. If you've made it this far,
Yes.
that is pretty crazy that you've listened to us ramble for this long. And I
It's
hope you
been a
guys are
wild
enjoying
ride.
the new segments and how we've been kind of splitting the podcast a little bit easier for you to understand what's coming, what's to be expected, and what you're going to get out of this podcast, because that's big for us and what we listen for.
Yeah.
So let us know how you think it's going so far with this new rebrand and new episodes that we have coming out. We are excited to keep this going, and
That's right. We will
yeah.
see you guys next week then.
see you next week.